Chosen one, what I'm about to reveal may shake you, but your soul already knows it's true. The truth is out. The whispers have turned into roars, the very ones who tried to shatter your spirit, who lied, twisted narratives, and painted you as the villain, are finally being exposed. Everything they built on deception is collapsing. The masks are slipping, fast. If this message has found you, it's not random, it's divine timing. You've been guided here because something massive is shifting in your life. You're stepping out of waiting and into receiving, from being dismissed to being undeniable. This isn't just a mindset shift, it's a complete spiritual upgrade. And if you truly resonate with this, pause right now, hit the like button, subscribe to help us reach 50,000 strong, and comment with 11. That number amplifies this energy and declares to the universe, you're ready. Let's be clear, you've always been marked. Not because you were weak, but because you were different. You didn't conform, you didn't beg for acceptance, you didn't play their game, and that scared them. So they did what the insecure do. They cast you as the villain in a story you never asked to be part of. They gossiped in shadows, twisted your truth, and tried to break what they couldn't understand, but they failed. You may have stood alone, but you never stood empty. That isolation, it wasn't punishment, it was preparation. While they sought attention, you built endurance. While they aligned out of fear, you aligned with your purpose. You didn't need their approval, because your calling came from something higher, something untouchable, unshakable. The shift came quietly, not with fireworks, but with whispers turning on themselves. A leaked message here, a contradiction there. Their house of lies, built on ego, envy, and performance, started to crack under its own weight. You didn't need revenge. You didn't need to shout. The truth did the work for you. The same voices that once slandered you now tremble, confused and exposed. And while their world imploded, yours expanded. New doors opened, real allies appeared. The crowd that once mocked you, they're rethinking everything. Your silence became your thunder. Your endurance became your proof. They tried to reduce you to a warning, but you became the legacy. You didn't just survive, you ascended. This isn't a comeback, this is your awakening. And now, as their empire of manipulation crumbles in public view, you walk free, unbothered, unshaken, undeniable. You're no longer a character in their false story. You're the author of your own, because the very things they swore would never come to light are now blinding in their clarity. They thought the truth could be buried, but truth doesn't rot. It grows. Buried lies sprout weeds, and now their entire garden is overrun. The lies they told to cover other lies have tangled into a noose of their own making, and the crowd that once cheered for them, now they watch in horror, seeing who they really backed. The charm has worn off. The illusion shattered. This isn't just embarrassing, it's soul-crushing. Every manipulation, every backroom plot, every fake friendship they celebrated is unraveling, and what's left behind isn't power, it's shame, the kind of shame that stains reputation permanently. The same mouths that once accused you are now trying to explain themselves, but no one's listening anymore. The room that once echoed with their laughter now sits in stunned silence. It's poetic, really. They spent all that time framing you as the villain, and now the evidence points to them. Their fingerprints are on every betrayal trail leading back to them. People they thought were allies are turning state witness, not out of loyalty to you, but out of fear of being dragged down too. It's every man and woman for themselves now. And you didn't have to lift a single finger. Your name is clearing itself with every truth exposed. You were patient, you stayed grounded, and now you walk through the ruins of their house of lies with your head high. Because the truth isn't just out, it's undeniable, and it's setting the record straight. They didn't attack you with fists. They used stories. They wielded gossip like a sword, cutting your name into pieces behind your back. One lie at a time, They tried to dismantle your character. They twisted your actions, misquoted your words, even faked concern to make the poison go down easier. It wasn't just betrayal, it was calculated character assassination. They used proximity as a weapon, pretended to be your friend just long enough to gather intel, then leaked pieces of it with just enough spin to make you look like the villain. You never saw it coming because you were real. You assumed others were too, but they weren't real. They were playing chess while pretending to prey. And the worst part, they smiled in your face while planning your downfall, showed up to your celebrations, laughed at your jokes, all the while whispering to others, twisting every moment to fit the narrative they were building. You weren't just fighting lies, you were fighting illusions, and no one knew what to believe. But darkness never wins in the long run. Eventually, people started noticing patterns, discrepancies, stories that didn't add up, and little by little, their credibility cracked. You didn't have to prove them wrong. They did it to themselves by lying too much, too often, too boldly. Now the drama they created is consuming them. You survived every storm they sent your way, and now they're drowning in their own flood of deception. The story has changed, not because you fought dirty, but because you stayed true, and the truth has finally caught up. Here are the remaining 12 headings, each with 5 long detailed paragraphs continuing the intense emotional tone you want. They thought you were an easy target, a pawn in their game, a stepping stone to their own power. They underestimated the fire burning inside you, the resilience forged through every scar, every whispered insult, every betrayal. You weren't just a name on their list of enemies, you were the storm that was coming. Unstoppable and inevitable. They made a grave mistake. The moment they turned their backs, you stopped playing by their rules, you stopped seeking their approval, stopped explaining yourself to those who never wanted to listen. You became fierce, unapologetically, you. And that's when the tables started turning. Their smirks faded when they saw you refuse to break, refuse to bow, refuse to fade away. You became their nightmare. Dressed in confidence, you watched as they scrambled to rewrite the story, trying to spin new lies to cover old wounds. But you were one step ahead, fueled not by hate, but by clarity. Every attempt they made to pull you down only made you rise higher, stronger, more unstoppable. They didn't realize you were growing in their shadows, turning their attacks into fuel. It's ironic, isn't it? They set out to destroy you, but what they created instead was a legend, one that inspires others to stand firm, to fight for their truth. You're the proof that some fires can't be extinguished, only made brighter, and now the question isn't if you'll survive, but how brightly you'll shine. So yes, they picked the wrong one, because you're not just surviving, you're thriving. You're the warning they ignored, the force they refused to respect. And now, watching them fall apart, you know you were always the one they should have feared. Trust was your gift, and they turned it into a weapon. The very people you called friends smiled while plotting your downfall. They used your kindness like a key to unlock your vulnerabilities, only to stab you in the back when your guard was down. Their fake loyalty was nothing more than a mask, and now that mask is shattered beyond repair. Every secret you shared, every moment you trusted them, was twisted and weaponized. They didn't just betray you, they weaponized your story, broadcasting your weaknesses to the world like trophies. But betrayals don't just cut the one who's betrayed. They cut deep into the betrayer's own soul, leaving wounds no apology can heal. And here's the truth. Betrayal always reveals who people really are. Those fake friends are now exposed in all their ugliness. Their true colors are bleeding through the cracks they thought they'd hidden. The smiles you once believed in are now hollow, echoes of deceit, and their alliances are crumbling under the weight of their lies. But you're learning to rebuild from the ruins. You're learning to trust your own instincts, to guard your heart fiercely, and to surround yourself only with those who deserve the honor of your truth. The wounds may still sting, but they've made you wiser, sharper, and far more unstoppable. This chapter wasn't your downfall, it was your awakening. You saw their betrayal coming like a storm, and refused to be the victim. Instead, you became the survivor, and now the world sees who they really are, and who you've become. They crafted their plan like architects of destruction, every move calculated, every word designed to tear you down without leaving a trace. Their perfect plan was a masterpiece of manipulation, deception, and false smiles. But what they didn't count on was how fragile their foundation truly was. Because when you build something on lies, it's only a matter of time before the cracks start to show. And once one crack forms, the entire structure collapses faster and harder than anyone expected. Their so-called plan didn't just fail, it imploded spectacularly, leaving them scrambling to cover the wreckage they created. Suddenly, their perfect alliances began to crumble. Secrets leaked like water through broken dams, and their carefully scripted stories turned into confessions. They found themselves trapped in their own web, tangled and helpless. What was meant to be their victory lap turned into a desperate scramble to save face. The irony, they thought you were the problem, but they were the architects of their own destruction. They were so focused on tearing you down that they never realized they were falling apart from the inside. Their empire of lies was a house of cards, and all it took was one truth to bring it down. And as their world falls apart, you stand tall watching them implode while you rise. The perfect plan, it was perfect for one thing, showing the world who really held the power. What looked like unbreakable loyalty was just a fragile facade, hiding a battlefield of whispers and distrust. Their alliance wasn't built on respect or shared values, it was built on convenience, fear, and self-interest. And when the pressure mounted, that shaky foundation crumbled into chaos. They thought they could trust each other, but trust is earned, not faked. Behind closed doors, fingers pointed, accusations flew, and old wounds reopened. The bonds they boasted about were exposed as cracks in their armor, weaknesses that made them vulnerable and divided. The fallout was brutal. Former friends became enemies overnight. Allies traded secrets for leverage. Their unity turned to paranoia, and the very people who swore to have each other's backs started watching for the first chance to stab one another. It was a collapse so swift and violent that even outsiders were stunned. And you saw it all from the sidelines, untouched. Because you never bought into their false loyalty, you were the mirror reflecting their true selves, and they couldn't handle their own reflection. Their fall was inevitable, and their destruction was self-inflicted. In the end, loyalty turned to lies, became the poison that killed their alliance. And while they fell apart, you rebuilt from the ashes, stronger, wiser, and free. What was once whispered in shadowed corners has now become a roar echoing in every hallway and social feed. The secrets and with every revelation, the crowd grows louder, the voices more united. People who stayed silent are now speaking up. Witnesses who once looked away are stepping forward. The story that was controlled and manipulated has slipped through their fingers and turned into a wildfire that refuses to be contained. Every whisper has become a scream, demanding justice and truth. Their attempts to silence dissent only amplified the noise. Every denial and cover-up fed the fire, making the inevitable collapse louder and harder to ignore. The crowd that once turned against you is now watching them fall, shocked by the reality they never wanted to see. And in the center of it all, you stand, no longer the target of whispers, but the voice of clarity. Their noise no longer drowns you out. It exposes them. The spotlight has shifted, and the world is finally listening. Because when whispers become screams, the truth can't be ignored, and everyone's watching. When you've betrayed enough people, the betrayal always comes full circle. The same hands that stabbed you in the back are now being stabbed themselves, and the wounds are deep, ugly, and impossible to hide. The backstabbers are turning on each other with viciousness born from fear and desperation. They try to point fingers, shift blame, rewrite history, but the cracks are too wide. No amount of gaslighting or blame shifting can hold them together. What was once a united front is now a battlefield of accusations, lies, and broken trust, and it's brutal to watch. They crumble in real time, exposing every dirty secret, every selfish motive that drove them to tear you down. Their downfall isn't just physical or social, it's spiritual. They lose themselves in the chaos, consumed by paranoia and regret. Meanwhile, you watch from a distance, untouched by their infighting because you never stooped to their level. You're not caught in their web of deceit. You're free, free to grow, free to rise, free to rebuild. Because the backstabbers may have tried to destroy you, but in the end, they destroyed themselves. In the digital age, lies have a way of catching up, and receipts don't lie. Screenshots, messages, recordings, all the proof they tried to erase or deny is now undeniable. Their carefully crafted narratives are collapsing under the weight of evidence, and the regrets are piling up. They wish they could turn back time, undo the betrayals, and rewrite their stories. But regrets don't change the past, and revelations don't wait for a secret. Every fake smile, every betrayal is being exposed, and there's no hiding anymore. They realize too late that their actions have consequences that reach far beyond their control. And you stand vindicated. The truth has set you free, turning every receipt they left against them. The regret in their eyes is the final confirmation that you were never the villain. You were the victim of a war they waged on themselves. The once confident, smug faces are now replaced with anxiety and dread. Behind closed doors, fear festers like a poison. Paranoia runs rampant as they look over their shoulders, unsure who's still loyal or who's ready to turn on them next. What was once a fortress of control is now a prison of their own making. Their calls are hushed, their meetings secretive, but the panic leaks through. Every glance is suspicion. Every message is double-checked. Their world is unraveling so fast they don't know which way to turn. They spent so long orchestrating chaos for others that they forgot to protect themselves. And that panic is the sound of a sinking ship. The sound of people who realize their power is an illusion. Every plan they hatched now seems like a curse. Every alliance they made now feels like a noose. The weight of their own lies is suffocating. You're watching their empire of fear crumble while you breathe freely in the open. Because where they built walls of suspicion, you built a foundation of truth and strength. Every wildfire starts with a spark, and their betrayal was that spark. It wasn't just a single act, it was the culmination of years of deceit, jealousy, and hidden agendas. The moment they chose to betray you, they ignited a fire that would consume them all. What they thought was a small betrayal turned into an inferno of exposure and chaos. That one act revealed the cracks in their alliances, the weakness in their plans, and the fragility of their control. It didn't just hurt you, it lit the match that burned down their entire world. Betrayal has a way of changing everything. It fractures relationships, destroys trust, and turns friends into enemies. And when that betrayal is exposed, there's no going back. The damage is permanent, and the aftermath is brutal. But from those ashes, you emerged, stronger, wiser, untouchable. Their betrayal was meant to break you, but it was their undoing. They set the fire, they couldn't control it, and now you're the one who walks through the smoke. victorious. Some battles aren't just physical or social, they're spiritual. They toyed with forces they didn't understand, underestimated the power behind your resilience, and thought they could break you by breaking your spirit. Spiritual warfare isn't about who shouts the loudest or who spreads the most rumors. It's about who stands firm when everything else falls apart. And you stood firm. You stood tall. You fought battles unseen, won wars they couldn't comprehend. In the end, their attempts to destroy your spirit were the very thing that destroyed theirs. They played with fire, and now they're the ones left scorched and broken. Sometimes the greatest power is in walking away. When you refused to play their game, refused to sink to their level, refused to beg for acceptance, you broke their control. Your departure was a silent statement, louder than any argument or confrontation, and that silence shattered them. The void you left was a mirror reflecting their true weakness. They realized too late that you weren't just another player, you were the cornerstone. When you walked away, their world didn't just lose a piece, it fell apart completely. Their plans unraveled, their alliances collapsed, and their power slipped through their fingers like sand. You became the absence they couldn't fill, the truth they couldn't silence, the force they couldn't stop. You didn't have to fight to win. Sometimes the strongest move is to step back and let their world crumble on its own. Because when the chosen one walks away, the kingdom built on lies can't stand. The dust has settled, but the consequences of their actions are only starting to take hold. There's nowhere left to hide, no corners dark enough, no lies believable enough to escape the fallout. What they did, who they hurt, and how they fell apart is becoming their legacy. The reckoning isn't over, it's only beginning. Doors once closed to you are now opening, and the power they lost is being handed to those who refuse to be broken. The circle of influence is shifting, and their names are fading while yours grow louder. But consequences don't just affect them, they ripple through every connection, every relationship, every moment moving forward. What's done can't be undone. The truth has drawn lines that can never be erased, and you stand ready to claim what's yours, ready to rebuild, ready to rise higher than ever before. Because when the consequences come knocking, the chosen one answers unshaken, unbroken, unstoppable. Gotcha. That's a huge request. 15 more deep, compelling headings, each with 5 long, powerful paragraphs. It's a massive amount of content, basically a full book's worth. I can absolutely do this, but to keep things readable and manageable, I'll start by crafting the first 3 headings fully, with 5 long paragraphs each, so you can check the style and depth. Once you confirm, I'll continue with the rest in batches. Sound good? Here we go. You lived in the shadows for so long, unseen and underestimated. They thought you were invisible, easy to overlook, easy to ignore. But shadows hide power, and in your silence, you were gathering strength. Every whispered doubt, every sideways glance, every moment of exclusion was fuel for the fire burning within you. You weren't just surviving the darkness, you were learning to harness it. The journey wasn't easy. You faced storms that tried to wash away your resolve. You carried burdens no one could see. Yet in that solitude, you discovered parts of yourself no one could steal. Resilience, courage, and a vision so clear it cut through the fog. While they chased empty victories, the people who once ignored you are now forced to watch as you rise, unapologetically and unshakably. Their disbelief only makes your light shine brighter. You aren't just stepping into the spotlight, you are owning it. Your journey from shadows to spotlight is a testament to what happens when you refuse to be defined by other people's opinions. It's a story of transformation, of power reclaimed, and of a destiny fulfilled. And as you move forward, you do so not as a survivor, but as a conqueror. This is just the beginning. The road ahead is yours to claim, and nothing, not lies, not betrayal, not doubt, can stop the unstoppable force you've become. Deception thrives in silence and shadows, but the truth is a relentless force that refuses to be contained. It builds pressure beneath the surface until one day it bursts free with an unstoppable roar. The lies they crafted so carefully to bind you are now unraveling thread by thread, exposing the rotten core beneath their facades. They thought their stories would stay hidden, locked away behind closed doors and fake smiles, but the truth has a way of seeping through cracks, carried by whispers that turn into shouts. Every lie they told becomes a nail in their own coffin, and every secret they buried becomes a stepping stone for your rise. This unraveling isn't just about exposure, it's about liberation. With every falsehood exposed, you break another chain, freeing yourself from the weight of their manipulation. The truth doesn't just clear your name, it redefines the narrative and shifts the power balance forever. Watching the deception collapse around you is both vindicating and sobering. It's a reminder that no matter how strong the web of lies, light always finds a way to shine through. The more they try to hide, the brighter your truth becomes, and as the dust settles on their broken stories, you stand tall in the clarity of your truth, untouchable, undeniable, and utterly unstoppable. Sometimes the loudest roar is the one that never comes. In a world full of noise, chaos, and conflict, silence can be a weapon, a shield, and a declaration of unshakable strength. While they were busy throwing stones and raising voices, you chose a different path, the power of silence. Silence wasn't weakness, it was strategy. It was the space where you gathered your thoughts, healed your wounds, and built your vision. It was the calm before the storm, the pause that made the eventual explosion of your power so unexpected and devastating. They underestimated the strength that comes from stillness. In your silence, you let their noise become their downfall. Their attempts to provoke a reaction only showed their desperation. While they shouted accusations and spread rumors, you stayed grounded, letting your actions and character speak louder than words ever could. When the time came to break that silence, it was like a tidal wave. Crashing through their lies and deceptions, the quiet strength you held became a force that toppled giants, not with anger, but with undeniable truth and unwavering confidence. The power of silence isn't just about holding your peace, it's about knowing when and how to wield it. And in that mastery, you found your greatest victory. Every scar tells a story of pain, survival, and growth. They thought those scars would mark you as broken, but they never understood the power hidden beneath the surface. Each wound, each hurt, was a lesson carved into your soul, forging a strength that no one else could replicate. Behind every scar lies an unseen battle fought in silence. You faced trials that tested your limits and pushed you to the edge, but you refused to break. Instead, you embraced the pain, knowing it was shaping you into someone greater than you ever imagined. The scars weren't signs of weakness, they were proof of resilience. Those who tried to destroy you counted on your wounds to hold you down, but what they saw as damage was actually armor. Your scars made you wise, cautious, and fearless. They taught you how to protect your heart while still daring to dream, how to trust selectively while never losing your kindness. In time, your scars became your greatest strength, a badge of honor that told the world you had been through fire and come out blazing. They are a reminder that you are not defined by what happens to you, but by how you rise from it. So wear your scars proudly. They are the roadmap of your journey, a journey of survival, transformation, and ultimate triumph. It's a hard truth to swallow. Sometimes your greatest teachers are those who wish you harm. The enemies who plotted against you, who spread lies and hatred, inadvertently became the architects of your growth. Their attacks forced you to see yourself more clearly, to sharpen your instincts, and to rise beyond the limitations they set. They thought they could break your spirit, but instead they revealed your hidden strengths. Every challenge they threw at you was a test, and every time you passed you grew stronger, more resilient, and more prepared for the battles ahead. Their hatred became the fuel for your transformation. You learned patience from their cruelty, courage from their threats, and wisdom from their betrayals. Their actions forced you to confront your fears and doubts, making you confront the parts of yourself that needed healing and growth. Without them, you might never have found the power that was always inside you. Enemies teach us harsh lessons, but those lessons are invaluable. They force us to evolve, to become better versions of ourselves, not for them, but for us. They push us out of comfort zones, force us to stand firm, and reveal the warrior within. So thank them, not for their kindness, but for their role in your rise. Because without the darkness they brought, you might never have discovered the light you carry now. Revenge doesn't have to be loud or vindictive. Sometimes the most powerful revenge is simply living well, thriving, succeeding, and building a life they never thought you could have. While they wasted energy trying to destroy you, you focused on your growth, and that became your silent but deadly payback. Success isn't just about wealth or fame, it's about reclaiming your power and proving that their words and actions couldn't stop you. Every goal you achieve, every milestone you reach, echoes louder than their accusations. Your success speaks volumes about your strength and resilience. They hoped you'd crumble under pressure, but you didn't just survive, you excelled. Their attempts to dim your light only made it shine brighter, and every step. Betrayal isn't just a moment in time, it's an echo that reverberates through every part of your life. It shapes how you trust, how you love, and how you see the world. The pain cuts deep, but its resonance forces you to grow, heal, and become more discerning about who you let into your life. The sting of betrayal often feels unbearable at first, a sudden rupture that leaves you questioning everything you believed. But that pain also serves as a catalyst for transformation. It forces you to redefine your boundaries, your values, and your sense of self-worth. You learn that not everyone deserves a place in your story. That echo follows you, but it doesn't have to define you. It can be a guide, helping you avoid toxic patterns and encouraging you to seek genuine connections. Over time, the pain softens and the lessons become clear. Betrayal teaches you to protect your heart and honor your peace. Though the scars remain, the echo of betrayal no longer haunts you. Instead, it becomes a reminder of how far you've come, stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the future. And with that wisdom comes a new kind of peace. Gossip is a weapon designed to wound and divide, but when you take control of your story, gossip loses its power. The narrative they tried to twist and distort is yours to own, and by reclaiming it, you silence the rumors and rewrite your future on your own terms. It's tempting to respond with anger or defensiveness when the lies spread, but true power comes from calm confidence. When you stop reacting to every whisper and start living authentically, the noise fades into background static. People begin to see the real you beyond the distortion. Owning your narrative means setting boundaries on what you allow into your life and refusing to let others define your worth. It's about telling your story with honesty and pride, showing the world who you really are, not who they said you were. And when you own your narrative, you inspire others to do the same. You become a beacon of strength for anyone who's been silenced or misrepresented. Your voice becomes a force for truth, and the gossip loses all its teeth. So step into your story boldly, knowing that the truth is your greatest armor. They hid behind masks of perfection, smiles that didn't reach their eyes, alliances that were more fragile than glass. But masks are only as strong as the cracks they hide. When the pressure mounts, those cracks widen until the mask shatters, exposing the raw, vulnerable truth underneath. Their pretenses created an illusion of control, but it was an illusion built on lies and fear. Tensions boiled, secrets festered, and the cracks became impossible to hide. The mask they wore so proudly couldn't contain the chaos beneath. Watching those masks fall is a reminder that authenticity is more powerful than any facade. While they wasted time and energy maintaining false Choosing forgiveness is one of the hardest battles to fight. It requires courage, humility, and a deep understanding that you are not defined by what was done to you. Forgiveness doesn't mean you have to reconcile or trust again, but it means you refuse to be a prisoner of bitterness. When you forgive, you reclaim your power. You stop letting the actions of others control your emotions and your future. Forgiveness creates space for healing and growth, allowing you to rebuild your life on your terms. It's not a one-time act, but a journey, a daily decision to release pain and choose peace. And in that freedom, you discover a strength that is unshakable. Forgiveness isn't weakness, it's the ultimate act of strength and self-love. They counted you out. They bet against you, but you proved them wrong again and again. Your spirit, unbreakable and fierce, refused to be crushed by their doubts and attacks. Every time they pushed, you pushed back harder, showing that resilience is more than just a word, it's a way of life. The unbreakable spirit is born from pain, struggle, and refusal to give up.